welcome to Sonnet 116 by William Shakespeare, one of his most famous sonnets. In this short video, you're going to see the different, you'll see it in a nutshell, exactly what the poem means and what it's about. We're going to look at the rhythm, the form, the meter, the rhyme scheme. We're going to analyse the poem itself, and we're also going to have a look at a modern day English translation of it to help you understand it better and to help you to be successful either in your exams or just generally understanding the poem in general. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, in a nutshell, Shakespeare wrote a total of 154 sonnets. They were published as an entity in their entirety in 1609. Really focus on love and what it is to both be in love and to be loved, especially with regards to relationships and time. Sonnets in general are the theme of love prevails throughout them all, and this is the key idea Shakespeare is really tapping into. The first 17 sonnets are addressed to a young man, and the remaining 137 are addressed to a woman, simply known as the Dark Lady. And you can work out what you think that might mean. Okay, the central themes in the poem and to many of his sonnets in general are the brevity of life, the transience of beauty, and the trappings of desire. And these all themes tie into the central theme of love around them as well. So this is in the sonnets in general. Sonnets 1 to 17, as I said, are addressed to a young man, known simply as Mr. W.H. And the poet in these sonnets argues that having children is the only way to preserve one's beauty against time. And this is constantly a theme that's been explored throughout Sonnet 116. It's how to keep beauty, how to remain loving and being loved as well. And especially in sonnets 1 to 17, he really plays with this idea, and he concludes the only way to really preserve your beauty is to have children. In his middle sonnets, as we call them, the poet tries to immortalise the young man's beauty through his poetry. And then finally, the trappings of desire in his later sonnets, the poet shifts his attention to the fact that only pure love can solve the issue of morality. The idea that only love is able to guide us in our journeys through life. Okay, we'll move on to the themes. Love is central to this poem. In 116, it's seen as an unstoppable, natural thing which cannot be controlled. It's the only constant thing in life, and it's there to guide those of us who are lost. And this is the key argument Shakespeare keeps returning to in this poem. Mortality as well. Mortality, the subject of death, is explored throughout the poem. Most notably, although beauty fades and time destroys everything, Shakespeare argues that love is the one thing it cannot kill and is able to survive everything. Okay, the meter used. We have unstressed followed by a stressed syllable all the way throughout it. Let me quickly remind you, we have an unstressed syllable in the beginning plus a stressed syllable afterwards. We call them iambs. Okay? This is a foot. Remember what I've told you before, we need an unstressed syllable and at least one other stressed syllable to make a foot. There are 5 feet within the poem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 feet in the line, therefore it is known as iambic pentameter. Penta meaning 5 in Greek. Okay, we'll check this out against the text. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love. And so on. Again, we go back to it, we count the feet in the line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect. Therefore, these lines, we can argue, are perfect iambic pentameter. Okay, let's have a look at a few of the other lines to see if this continues. We've got this unstressed stress going throughout this line here, that looks on tempests and is never shaken. Okay. We've got an extra syllable here. Those of you who have been watching my other videos will know this is known as catalexis. we see this next line is this line here, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. There's an extra syllable there as well, and likewise with this line as well. We call this catalexis, as I say. When there's an extra syllable at the end of the line, we don't count it, we group all the 5 main feet together, therefore it's pentameter. It's an unstressed followed by a stressed syllable, so therefore it's iambic pentameter. And my analysis here, the fact that Shakespeare, who was more than capable of writing perfect iambic pentameter lines, has he included this extra syllable in a few lines to suggest the possibility of an imperfection within true love? And that's something that you want to be thinking about. Really getting the better grades in your exams is really looking into these different ideas of the rhythm, the form, the meter. If it's not perfect, as he is saying that true love is, well, why is the meter not perfect? And what's he therefore trying to suggest? I'll let you think about that a little bit longer. Okay, just to remind you, that's line 1, 2, 6, 8 and 12. Let's move on. The rhyme scheme, very, very, very simple. We've got minds rhyming with finds, love and remove, although it doesn't sound like they rhyme. Remember, Shakespeare was writing over 500 years ago, so perhaps then it would have been more to be read, or bends with the remover to remove. Remove rhyming with love, almost. So it's an A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G rhyme scheme. What do we know this as? Well, this is the perfect Shakespearean or English sonnet, if you like. All of these Shakespearean or English sonnets follow this rhyme scheme. A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, G. And the rhyming couplet for the final 2 lines. We'll move on. Paraphrasing it, I'm just really going to let you pause this if you like and think more a little bit about it. In modern day English, he's basically saying, let me not declare any reasons why 2 true-minded people should not be married. Love is not love, which changes when it finds a change in circumstances, or bends from its firm stand even when a lover is unfaithful. What do you think about that? Oh no, it is a lighthouse that sees storms but is never shaken. Love is the guiding north star to every lost ship, whose value cannot be calculated, although its altitude can be measured. Love is not at the mercy of time, though physical beauty comes within the compass of his sickle. Think of the Grim Reaper, and he's got the sickle that he's always seen pictured with. Love does not alter with hours and weeks, but rather it endures until the last day of life. If I am proved wrong about these thoughts on love, then I recant all that I have written, and no man has ever truly loved. So, look at the modern day paraphrasing compared to the original Elizabethan language, and it perhaps begins to make a little bit more sense to you. Spend some time, if you don't understand these words, looking at them. You can just type define and then the word into Google, and it'll give you that explanation. Really engage with it, understand what the poem's about. Shakespearean language is difficult initially. You start to see words repeated and you begin to learn to read it and understand it more easily. But this is a good place to start. Okay, we'll move on. The sonnet structure, okay, is broken into 3 quatrains and a rhyming couplet at the end. The first quatrain, the first 4 lines, deal with the poet's pleasure that love is constant and strong within this poem 116. The second quatrain tells us what true love is fixed and it can weather any storm. Love is able to conquer everything, he tells us in the second series of 4 lines. In the third quatrain, he reaffirms that true love's perfection and tells us it cannot be broken, even by death. And the rhyming couplet, the GG rhyme at the end, he simply, quite arrogantly says, if he's wrong about the constant, unmovable nature of true love, he needs to take back all of his writings on love, truth and faith. He's certain that he knows what true love is. Okay, we move another page. Let's get into the analysis. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bend with the remover to remove. What are you saying here, Shaky? Let's get in about it and have a look. First of all, the marriage of true minds, a deeper understanding between two people than just a simple legal bond. Marriage is a legal status, basically. Shakespeare's saying that the marriage of true minds is much deeper than this. There's a focus on faithfulness, forgiveness, and equality. And perhaps you could argue it offers more equality to women, something which wasn't very commonly done in Shakespeare's day. My question for you, can this realistically be achieved? Remember, questions are in yellow, and green is the analysis of what's happening. These two lines as well. The very famous critic T.G. Tudor comments that these two lines are a manifest allusion to the words of the marriage service. At the beginning of the Christian marriage ceremony, the vicar or the minister or priest says, "If any of you know cause or just impediment why these two persons should not be joined together in holy matrimony, usually speak now or forever hold your peace." Classic of the old rom-com, romantic comedy movies. I'm sure you've heard these lines before. Also, for your knowledge, there's a link to Much Ado About Nothing in this as well, this idea of the marriage of true minds. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds. It's saying love remains true and it works through problems. True love will conquer anything is what Shakespeare's saying. He's really showing his belief in love. Or bends with the remover to remove. Interesting. Let's get about this a little bit more. He's basically saying, even when one person's unfaithful towards the other and the other leaves, okay? He's saying that love remains true throughout this, even when there's problems, even when somebody's cheated on their wife or their husband. Love conquers this and they stay together. My question to you, does this give permission to be unfaithful to your lover? This is what I'm slightly asking. Is this an excuse almost? Is this kind of almost suggesting, well, it's alright if you cheat on your love, on your wife or your husband, because, you know, true love stays together? I wonder. That's something for you to think about, especially in the 21st century, that with the Me Too movement and everything that's happening. It's a really rich time to be analysing works with a 21st century eye upon it, to think, what is this actually saying? Is this male entitlement? You could argue it possibly is. Let's get into stanza 2. Okay. Or the second quatrain, sorry. Second quatrain. It's all one poem. The second quatrain, the second 4 lines. We're told, "Oh no! It is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests, storms, and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken." Let's get in about it. What's he saying? Oh no, it's a very human interjection. It's gone from this lovely poetry and it's almost self-consciously answering the last quatrain. Oh no, it is an ever-fixed mark. An ever-fixed mark, essentially, well, it's a lighthouse it's talking about. And this line from Othello rings true as well. When Othello says, "Be not afraid, though you do see me weaponed. Here is my journey's end, here is my butt, and the very sea mark of my utmost sail." So there's links to his other poems. Again, to get the better grades in your exams, you want to be knowing this and linking it. So it is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. As I said, it's a lighthouse. That looks, there's personification being used here. The lighthouse is being personified, that it looks on tempests and it's never shaken. It looks on storms, rough, turbulent times, yet it never moves. That's what love is. And it is never shaken. It's saying that even in difficult times of a relationship, love conquers and can survive all. We're told love, it is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. The star is referring to Polaris, the North Star, a guiding star, which, much like a lighthouse does, was believed to be constant and it never moved. This star never moved, you could always see it. Other stars also revolved around it, showing its importance. It's really saying, by saying that love is this star, it's the most important thing that life revolves around. That's what he's trying to suggest. Again, there's links to Much Ado About Nothing and Julius Caesar as well. Much Ado About Nothing, Act 2, Scene 1, line 222. Julius Caesar, Act 3, Scene 1, line 65. Look them up, make your links, make your connections. I've not got enough time here to really do it, but that doesn't mean that you can't. So it's the start to every wandering bark. A wandering bark is a metaphor for people who are lost, like ships. It's the start to every wandering, every lost ship, just like us. We are lost people without love. Shakespeare suggesting without love, we are all lost. Love is our guiding star. It's our lighthouse. It's constant. It doesn't change no matter how difficult things get. Love never changes, is what Shakespeare's saying. And it's saying it's the start to every wandering bark whose worth's unknown, although its height be taken. This is true both of love and the star. Its worth, its value is really unknown. The value, worth of both the North Star Polaris and love cannot be calculated, but its height can. Now with love not so much, but you can kind of explain how much you love someone compared to others. But to actually give that value, to explain what it is, to describe your love for another person, it's near impossible. That's what this line is saying. And it emphasises that love cannot be rationalised through scientific methods. It cannot, whose worth's unknown, although its height be taken. The North Star, we can see how high up it is. We can use mathematical calculations to estimate they kind of could back then, to estimate its distance from Earth. But we can't actually analyse and understand the value of it, much like love. Okay, we move on? We move on. Okay, the key idea here, time and death have no effect on true love. We get told, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Let's get into this. Love is not time's fool, personification here, both love and time being personified, okay? Time here is being used as a metaphor for death. It's saying that love is not death's fool. Death doesn't kill love. It says, though rosy lips, well, fool for example, first of all, love is not a jester to time. It doesn't play by or entertain time's rules. Love conquers all. Time doesn't kill love, and that's what it's saying. Love's not a joker to time. It doesn't, you don't stop loving because over a period of time or through death or anything like that. It's constant, it continues. Through rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Just read that to yourself, incredible sounds. It's really seeing here superficial things such as beauty, the rosy lips and cheeks. It will fade and die with death. As you get older, and especially once you're dead and you're in the ground, well, worms and things begin to eat you. You're not very beautiful anymore. Beauty is temporal, it's temporary, whereas love is eternal. And it says that beauty will fade and die with death. Beauty falls within the range of the compass of death. Beauty dies, love doesn't. And that's really what Shakespeare's getting at. We've also got, within his bending sickle's compass come, alliteration here really just it's suggesting the sound of the ticking clock. Time ticking away within his bending sickle's compass come. We're told in this line that continues to personify time, and it's being equated with death here through the use of his. With his bending sickle's compass come. Time, it's an extended personification and metaphor, extended metaphor here. Time's fool, and also then time's bending sickle. The sickle is what the Grim Reaper typically is pictured with or imagined with. And it's saying that beauty falls within this, time falls within this, but love doesn't. We'll move on. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. True love lasts forever, he's saying. It's not something temporary. There's an extended use of personification with the repetition of his, much like time has his, or death, has his bending sickle's compass come. Love also doesn't alter with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Love and death are also here being personified as male. his being used, which again, if you're wanting to think about it from a gender perspective, it's quite interesting to think about. But it's really saying here that love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. Love doesn't change through hours and weeks and years, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. The edge of doom being doomsday in Henry IV, Act 4, Scene 1, line 141. It's the edge of doom he talks about. Doomsday, the end of the world, the end of earth. Love conquers everything. Love isn't restricted by time. It bears it out. It survives even to the edge of doom, even to the final day of earth. Love will remain true, strong, and constant. And as I've said at the bottom there, time and death have absolutely no effect on true love. True love is what he's looking at here. We get up here, we get what the volta, the turn, the final last two lines. And it's full of Shakespearean arrogance here. He knows he's the daddy of writing. There's no doubt about this. And he's being quite confident, quite cocky here. He's an expert on writing, an expert on poetry, on writing plays, and love. He says, if this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. So if this be error and upon me proved, if you can prove that I'm wrong about this, then you know what? I never wrote anything, and therefore no man has ever loved. The volta, the turn, quite clever lines, as I said. Shakespeare's saying that if anyone, he's daring anyone, if anyone's able to prove that his idea, his concept about true love, not just love, but true love, the central focus of Sonnet 116, then he, the writer, has therefore never written before, and therefore no man has ever truly loved. Now think about this. Difficult to argue against Shaky here. Why? Because we're reading his poem over 500 years later. That's why. Just like love, his lines have survived against time, have survived against change, and continue to be read. It's also a fact. We know Shakespeare's a writer. There's no doubt about it. We're writing his lines. So therefore that's true. Therefore it must be true that he knows and what he says about true love is true as well. There's a similarity between love and literature. Both are immortal. Shakespeare almost implies that just like love will see things out until the end of time, as will his writing. And this is the genius of Shakespeare. He really was the greatest writer in the English literary canon. I genuinely believe that. It's phenomenal. Very difficult at first, but once you get used to him, mind-blowing. Okay, let's get a little bit in here a bit more. It also has a tone of a legal defence, and I want to mention that as well. There's a real feeling that it's as if Shakespeare's had this poem's like a court case, and Shakespeare stood up at the end, and it's like a legal defence. If this be error and upon me proved, if this is wrong and you can prove that I am wrong about this, well, I never wrote anything, and therefore no man has ever loved. If I have written about anything, take it back, it's wrong. It strengthens the defence even more. It's indisputable. You have to agree with what Shakespeare's saying here. And the final line GG have said there does rhyme. You be proved and loved, perhaps it would say. Proved and loved. Proved and loved. It does rhyme. Might not seem it in the 21st century, but it rhymes. Okay, we've got that familiar rhyme scheme, the English Shakespearean sonnet that we saw at the beginning. Okay. Finishing off, upon me proved, Shakespeare himself is presenting himself as an authority on the subject of love. And why should we disbelieve him? Okay, final thing I really want to leave you here with. Brooke, another very famous Shakespeare critic. I'm going to quickly read this to you and I'll explain what he's saying. Brooke comments that in Sonnet 116 the chief pause and sense is after the 12th line. He goes on to analyse 75% of the words are monosyllables. Writ, nor, no, man. They're monosyllables. Only three contain more syllables than two. None belong in any degree to the vocabulary of poetic diction, of what's believed that a poem must be to be excellent. There's nothing recondite, exotic or metaphysical in the thought. There's nothing mind-blowing here, he's almost saying. Nothing revolutionary here. He says there's 3 run-on lines with enjambment. 1 pair of double endings. He says there's nothing to remark about the rhyming except a happy blending of open and closed vowels and of liquids, nasals and stops. He says there's nothing to say about the harmony except to point out how the fluttering accents in the quatrains give place in the couplet to the emphatic march of the almost unrivaled iambic feet. In short, get straight to the point, will you, Brooke? In short, the poet has employed 110 of the simplest words in the language and 2 of the simplest rhyme schemes to produce a poem which has about it no strangeness whatever except the strangeness of perfection. What Brooke is saying here is that compared to other poems and sonnets that Shakespeare wrote, there's nothing revolutionary, nothing amazing, nothing incredible. The word choice is not spectacular like we know Shakespeare to be. It's really simple. But these are 110 words of the simplest words in the language, 2 of the most simple rhyme schemes, A, B, C, and so on, G, G at the end, a rhyming couplet, but he has produced a poem which is perfect. It is poetic perfection, this sonnet, okay? Right. As always, get to the end, okay? As always, if you've got any comments, questions, anything like that, please let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this, please like, and even better, subscribe. Ring the little bell for alerts, then it'll alert you about any new videos that I upload. I'm going to be continuing to upload a few more poems. There's going to be revision guides, there's going to be how to write essays, there's going to be a lot of things. So remember to keep on coming back and checking things regularly. Shakespeare really was a genius, and this poem really is excellent. It's difficult to get your head around, but pause, take some notes, look at some other people's ideas, and you're going to have the perfect understanding for your exams. Best of luck, and until next time.